I'm all about music. I'm always up to listening to something new, something different. I'm also a huge fan of jazz music. My personal favorites, and the ones constantly on my daily shuffle, are Oscar Peterson, Dave Brubeck, John Coltrane, and Ben Webster. But occasionally, I like to take a step out of my comfort zone of those artists I'm already familiar with and search for other sounds, a new, refreshing take on the rhythmic pattern. It's during one of those quests that the almighty Spotify algorithm recommended me an album that immediately caught my eyes with its apparently simple visuals. Just a bloke playing a saxophone over a blue background, with his name and the album's floating over the silhouette. So I immediately added the album's opening track to my To Listen Later playlist and waited for the right time to listen to it. A couple of days later, I found myself a space in my schedule to listen carefully to the album. And I love it. I'll definitely check out more of his music. So today, I bring you Mr. Yusef Lateef and his 1968 album, The Blue Yusef Lateef. What's up everybody? I'm Cesar, and as I mentioned on that unusually long introduction, I'm here to talk about an album I recently encountered. I never encountered the artist before, but his name caught my attention since I happen to know other artists with similar names who happen to be great underrated musicians. So I had great expectations for it. If you happen to know a bit about jazz music, you'll probably also know that the GOAT albums usually have pretty simple designs, with a recurring pattern of just showing the artist playing his instrument of choice. And my intuition was correct. Mr. Yusef cooked on this album. Really good. But enough words for me, let's hear it from the man himself. Right away, one is received by the sounds of what appears to be a wooden flute, drums, a humming voice, and 9 compasses later, an upright bass and the piano. I think the song is great, introduces to the kind of flavor the album is going to be offering to the listener. I can't make up what the name of the song means, but it added to the mystery and overall confusion that I felt, and my curiosity for the kind of experience I was about to encounter. Fade out, and I was met with 2 notes from the upright bass similar to those of My Girl by The Temptations. But the sound of a gong, or tam-tam, could be any of them, immediately transformed the ambience into one of those reminiscent of Les Baxter or Martin Denny exotic sounds from a far-off island or oasis. The percussion is subtle yet omnipresent. A set of strings enter the scene, slowly dancing along, accompanied by yet again the sound of flutes. I recognize right away Yusef's talents at creating a certain ambience that is suddenly elevated by a saxophone solo and further drums that mark the beginning of a no compass, but also gives the chance to further experiment with the melody that the sax is soloing on. We get a piano solo deep into the song that further elevate the vibes the song gives off. Sharp strings play a mysterious tune, further assisted by the sound of pizzicato strings and drums. If the previous song was some sort of introduction into a world, this presents itself as the tortuous and mysterious passages with desires and all kind of other temptations stalk its casual passerby. A door opens and we step into a party room. A saxophone and a harmonica are playing over a rather simple blues rhythm. Definitely not what I was expecting after the previous songs. The surprise is a satisfying one though, giving us a chance to relax and dance along the catchy tune. Fade out, gong, and we are transported to a Japanese scene. Again, this album does not stop to surprise me, but also a big shout out to the artist for his versatility as adapting really well to literally any rhythm you throw at him. He reminded me of the sounds of Happy End, Kami Kami or Akiko Wada. The song was actually kind of funny for me. Now, I don't mean no disrespect. It's just about the singer's way to perform whatever story or nonsense he was shouting about. And also the little bits of Chennai he occasionally would insert. It's not like I didn't like this song, I loved it. I actually was thinking about that one Patrick Bateman meme where he walks down his office hallway listening to music. Like, yeah, that's gonna be me. The song closes up with the sound of a fading gong. Another giant step, see what I did there? To a completely different scenery. The sound reminding me of Ray Charles' The Mess Around or What I Say, except for the wide variety of wind instruments that enter the scene. I mean, we have what I think is a bassoon or something. But given the number of unusual instruments we've encountered so far, I will not be ashamed to admit if I'm wrong in my assumption. Fade out, and another bluesy tune. I was not expecting a continuation with a familiar rhythm, since the crazy departure this album got me used to so far, but I grew up with it. The tempo actually reminded me of the kind of pattern that the Dave Brubeck Quartet would usually dig. The syncopation and organized chaos of such a hard tempo only cemented my respect and regards to Yusef and his bandmates. A sudden ending which transports us once again into the parting room of Ophelia. I think this is the first time in the whole album that a jazz guitar enters the scene, or at least the first it takes the lead in a track. Also, it's curious to know that by this point the upright bass is replaced by an electric one, and the instruments are sort of what you would expect to find on a jazz record. Drums, saxophone, piano, the usual suspects, you know? But the tune is just so good, man. I picture being swinging down the road on a big black Cadillac, rocking a tuxedo or something, on my way to a party. The last song on the album is surprisingly a tone with what we've been previously listening. My thoughts were that, to close the album, Yusef would have chosen to walk us out of his exotic oasis throughout the previously tortuous passages we encountered at the beginning. But the party just kept on rolling. A bit more chill, you know? But keeping the custom of rolling over an unusual drum pattern. It's not like it's hard to follow, the ear gets used to it pretty quickly. And Yusef's virtuosity makes it a really pleasing experience. A good way to say, great party mate, thanks for letting me in. After listening to those great songs, I dived a little deeper into the artist itself. And I still am getting to know him, but here are the basics. He was born under the name William Emanuel Huddleston in Tennessee, but moved to Detroit a few years later. There, surrounded by talent, he bought a saxophone, and the rest is history. He converted to Islam, changing his name to Yusef Lateef, and rose to become a very respected member of the jazz scenery, as well as contributing enormously to intellectual studies and research on African culture, having spent 4 years in Nigeria composing whole orchestral suites, winning a Grammy Award in 1988, writing books, nothing but a giant of a man, essentially. Watching a couple of interviews, I can also perceive him to be someone who takes music not only as a way to produce beauty, but also as a tool for the enlightenment of ideas, for philosophical contemplation, which reminded me to the similar takes on music shared by the likes of John Coltrane or Thelonious Monk.
Musicians, they didn't talk much, but they did a great deal of thinking. Like I remember one night coming out of the place in the village listening to Thelonious Monk, and previously I had been talking to some musicians, and they were discussing what would you play from a G minor 7 to a C7. So I asked Monk the question. I said, Monk, what would you play against the changes G minor to C7? You know what his answer was? Ideas. That was such a beautiful answer.
I will definitely gonna check out more of his music, and I think you should give him a listen too. And look, I understand that if you're not into jazz, and I mean real jazz music, none of that modern pop shit, this artist can sound a bit aggressive. It might be too much. Like trying to listen to rap for the first time and going straight into mad villainy, you know? But if you feel in the mood for something different, to experience a brand new feeling, then this album is definitely the way to go. Certified beat and brain recommendation. But let me know what you think. Did you know about the existence of this titan? Are you into jazz? Let me know in the comments below. Hey, hope you enjoyed this one. Initially, I was going to make a video about Vultures 2, the latest album by Kanye West, Untitled Chapter, but that album was a complete disappointment for me, and I don't really feel about posting just negative comments about stuff, you know? That's why this album felt like a breath of fresh air for me. And as I said in the video, I understand if you don't like it, if you don't like free jazz music in general. This is definitely something to play if you want to scare the host, but if you do like jazz music or feel like trying it, then this album is really a fun ride. Anyway, I'm working on a couple of videos I'll be posting sometime in the next couple of weeks. So make sure to stay around, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're not, and share it if you feel like it. Thanks so much for watching, have a beautiful day, a great week, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.